Sometimes videos come together for me, and sometimes they just don't. And so far, this has been a video that hasn't. But despite that, I want to talk about judging books by their covers. So let's do it. So, that old adage, don't judge a book by its cover, is one that I have tried to live by, right? I think that there is some sage wisdom in the idea of not judging a book by its cover. But I think, especially in the world of media, the content that we consume, that adage has failed to age well. The reality is, I don't think you can survive in today's media landscape without judging books by their cover each and every day. And even more so than that, I think it is impossible not to. I think the reality is there is so much media that is created today that we all need heuristics to weed through it. We need to optimize towards something. We might be optimizing towards enjoyment or education or whatever it happens to be. And the ways that we do that is through heuristics. Heuristics like, I like other things this author has written. This is recommended to me by a friend who I think knows my taste. I really enjoy this genre, so I want to try something new. But all of these are heuristics. We are judging books by not the content of the book. We are judging videos by not the content of the video. And so it's a really important skill to have. And I think that there are some interesting ways in which the landscape has shifted as a couple of players have entered the equation and started to operate in interesting ways within it. The first of these players are the creators themselves. I think that today, any creator who is creating a book, a magazine article, whatever it happens to be, is concerned about getting eyeballs. When was the last time you saw a news article that wasn't, is broccoli killing you? Or some other leading question that you probably are interested and want to know the answer to. But when you click on it and you scroll to page 7 of the article, you find out that no, broccoli isn't killing you. Go figure. But the reality is that creators are optimizing their content to get people to click them. And this concept, this approach, this strategy is called clickbaiting. And it is the idea that you want to get the click, right? It's a very digital centric idea, but you want people to click on your article. So you take whatever you have, the title of the article, the picture that goes along with the article, and you amp it up to 11 and you make it seem really engaging or intriguing. And then when the person actually gets in there, what you promised in the title is not necessarily what you deliver. It's the bait and switch. And this is an ever increasingly common approach because it works so darn well on us consumers. But I said there were a couple of operators, and the other operator that we're going to be talking about is the platform. And platforms have algorithms. And the algorithm is the thing that determines whether your particular piece of content shows up on that platform, right? In this example, I publish my videos to YouTube, and then YouTube decides who is going to see them and not see them in the curated things you might like section. And that algorithm is the thing that is determining whether or not it shows up there. Back in 2006, Netflix was kind of the only company doing this, and they offered up something called the Netflix Prize, $1 million bounty for anyone who can improve their recommendations by 10%. At the time, it was a lot of money, and it showed their commitment to providing the best recommendations that they could. The reality is that things have shifted, And now you can't go 2 feet without running into an application that has a things you might like section that is curated based on a corpus of big data that the company has collected and is designed to pull you in and keep you consuming content. So there's this interesting synergistic relationship where the content creators are trying to get eyeballs for their content by being sensationalistic. And then the platforms are trying to keep you engaged on the platform by presenting to you content that has that effect and keeps you engaged. And so this all gets back to those companies that own the platform because they are profit driven. And so they are measuring whether or not their algorithm is working. And the measure that they all inevitably land on is something called engagement. You've heard me use engage quite a few times, but engagement is a metric that is used to represent how much of someone's time they are spending in a particular app, right? So if I spend an hour in the YouTube app today, and then I spend 2 hours tomorrow, my engagement has doubled. And engagement is a really useful metric for these profit-driven companies for 2 reasons. One that's obvious and one that's a little more subtle. The obvious reason is that more time in these apps on these sites is more opportunity for them to monetize you, right? If they have 1,000 users and those 1,000 users spend twice as much time in their app or watching their videos, then they can get twice as many ads into the eyeballs of those users and charge other companies for those ads. But the second and perhaps more interesting way in which increased engagement benefits these companies is they don't have to look so desperate. For lack of a better descriptor, apps or websites or whatever it happens to be that know that they will only have you for a brief fleeting moment need to hit you in the face with the advertisement right off the bat. Whereas the ones that have more engagement can slow play it a little bit. My favorite example of this is Instagram. Instagram definitely pushes towards engagement. That's what they care about. They want people to engage for as long as possible. They do a pretty good job of it, and that means that when you open up the app, the first thing that you see doesn't have to be an ad. They can wait for you to scroll a little while before they show you an ad because they know that you're gonna scroll a little bit. Whereas a website that has tricked you into clicking on it to read a particular article needs to hit you in the face with all of the ads right off the bat. And so the more you grow your engagement, the less desperate you need to be while also having more surface to show ads and monetize your users. So in that way, it is incredibly understandable that companies would push hard towards engagement metrics. But as I alluded to earlier, engagement is very insidious. It is an insatiable beast that is never satisfied until it is consumed all of the time that someone has available. And that is, in a way, a problematic measurement because it creates some very perverse incentives, right? Getting back to what we were describing before, if clickbait articles yield more engagement, even if they are frustrating and annoying for me as a user, right? I would much rather have the article show up and say, broccoli isn't killing you, right? I wouldn't have to read the article then, but that's bad for engagement, right? It's much better to present me with an article that it's going to take me 5 minutes to skim through that is ultimately going to answer the question that it posited at the beginning. This is happening all the time. It's happening across every site that provides curated or personal content to us, and all of them are pushing towards the same thing. They want to provide enough content to keep us fed and happy and engaged for as long as they possibly can so that they can monetize us in the interim. So why am I talking about this, right? I am not a platform, but I am a creator. And I've been thinking a lot about this because I want to be very mindful in the way that I approach this problem. Because when I create a video, I want more people to see it than just my friends and family, which at the moment is basically everyone who's watching these videos. But, I have ambitions, and someday I would like for strangers to potentially watch my videos. And to appeal to a stranger, this is all I have. All I have is a picture, a title that is not particularly long, and then a duration. And the way that I think about these three things is that the title and the description is my opportunity to make a value proposition, to make a promise about what is going to be contained in the thing that I have created. And then the duration is the cost that you are going to incur, right? You are going to have to watch this video for a certain amount of time in order to get that value proposition. And most savvy consumers are doing that math, right? They are looking at the value proposition versus the time that is required, and then making a decision about whether they want to engage with that piece of media based on the heuristics that are the things that are presented and the other things that are known. If they like the creator, author, director of the work, then maybe they are less inclined to believe or care about what the title is or what the picture associated with it is. But at the end of the day, for people unfamiliar with the work who don't have a lot of those extra signals, they are going to be making their decision based on the value that is articulated in that very anemic package. And so I've been thinking a lot about that because as a creator, I don't want to engage in this engagement metric culture. I want to put my best foot forward. I want the value that I present in thumbnails and titles to be honest and accurate without being a bait and switch clickbait play that tricks people into watching my videos or starting to watch my videos. But even that gets a little tricky because the way that I'm conceptualizing it, the title and thumbnail are a promise of value. But value is in the eye of the beholder, right? Until someone goes and watches the video, there's no way I can guarantee how much value they will get out of it. And the value they get out of it is retrospective, right? They look back and they say, I didn't particularly care for it. I feel deceived because you promised me something great and gave me something that I did not find great. And so it's not as easy as just saying, don't be deceptive. I am balancing two forces here, right? On the one hand, I want to do my best to accurately present the sign on the outside of my store. But on the other side, I want to make sure that I am differentiating myself from the incalculable, unconsumable mountain of media that is created in this world every single day. It's a tricky balance to strike. And I'm curious about all of your experiences with today's media landscape. I think that the direction that things have gone and the nature of the way that we engage with media is fraught today, mainly because of this endless, unceasing quest for engagement that causes media to misrepresent itself in order to maximize the clicks that it gets. And I want to be very mindful to make sure that I'm doing it in a way that is not clickbaity, in a way that is honest and a fair representation, while at the same time making the best value proposition that I possibly can. So with that, I hope you found this somewhat interesting. It's a topic I've been thinking a lot about, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye. Not a potamus. Ponderous.